was sick and tired, living in a town filled with narrow minds and hate. They used to laugh at me, their children called me names. I would run and hide, feeling so ashamed just for being born. I was just a boy, punished for a crime that was.
But I'm having book signings, and I'm celebrating my book coming out. I'm celebrating Black History Month. I'm also celebrating having reached the ripe old age of 80 and still being able to talk to you. I'll be sharing my poem about reaching 80 with you later. I've shared it with you before. I'll be sharing it again. It's called the Big 80. But I am so thankful that at 80, I still have a future. You know, Jeremiah 29:11, one of our scriptures says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans for hope for the future." I am blessed at this age to still have hope for the future. And I have hope for the future, or I wouldn't be putting out another book. Now, hopefully you will join me for the book signing at Northwest Activity Center the last Sunday in March, March 29th from 3 to 6. I'll also be having a book signing April the 26th from 3 to 6. I'm hoping that for the second book signing, you will join me and that you will read some of the poems, because this is the first book that this is my fourth book, but this is the first one that I really feel that everyone will find something in it that they like. So I'm looking forward to my book coming out. I'm celebrating my book coming out. I'm thanking God for having blessed me to get to the age where a lot of people are going downhill. I'm not going downhill just yet. So before I go downhill, I'm trying to get some things accomplished. I want to thank the people who have donated to the Purvis Jackson Autism Foundation, because the Purvis Jackson Foundation is for lower income children with handicaps. All children with handicaps need help. All need help. But if the parents of a child with a handicap are wealthy, they don't need the Purvis Foundation. They can do whatever they need for their child. The Purvis Foundation, we can't do everything. We can't do something for everybody, but we can do something for somebody. So those of you who donate to the Purvis Foundation, thank you so much for your donations. I couldn't do it without you. I'm very thankful for you. So I said this is Black History Month, celebrating Black history, but I want to focus on Black music now, the history of Black music. And how could I, living in Detroit, Michigan, not talk about Motown? So Motown was started in 1959 by Berry Gordy. And Berry Gordy, the story goes that he borrowed $800 from his family fund to start this music company. And that was a seed. When you talk about a seed that sprouts, that was a seed that turned into something known all over the world. So I want to talk about some of the artists, but the artists that I want to talk about today are the Spinners. Now, the Spinners got their start with Motown. This is a picture of the Spinners back in their youth. Now, it's my husband, the one who is leaning against the tree. On the other side of the picture with his hand against the tree is G.C. Cameron. G.C. Cameron is the one that was leading on It's a Shame, which was one of the Spinners' big hits while they were with Motown. It's a Shame was written by Stevie Wonder, and the story goes that Stevie Wonder is the one that pushed Motown to release It's a Shame. But It's a Shame, G.C. Cameron was a member of the Spinners then, but when the Spinners left Motown and went to Atlantic, G.C. Cameron didn't go with them to Atlantic. But, and they say, I don't know the story, but they say that when the Spinners left Motown, that Barry was singing "It's a Shame" himself. And the first hit that the Spinners had when they got with Atlantic Records was called "How Could I Let You Get Away." So they say that Barry was singing "It's a Shame" and "How Could I Let You Get Away." Now, that's probably just urban legend, but I thought it was funny. But the Spinners were with Motown, but they didn't start with Motown. They started, Barry's sister, Gwen, and her husband, Harvey Fuqua, had a label called Tri-Fi. And the Spinners were on their label, on the Tri-Fi label. The Spinners, then Barry Gordy bought Tri-Fi from Harvey. Now, if you remember songs of the 50s, the Moonglows had some very big hits back in the 50s. Sincerely, and Sincerely was a big hit. Sincerely, 10 Commandments of Love. Harvey Fuqua had this smooth, soothing, beautiful voice. And the Moonglows were one of the groups that helped shape the Spinners. And even more than that, Harvey helped develop the Spinners after they got with Motown. So they started at Tri-Fi, then they went to Motown. Now, back in the days of the talent shows, they tell me that back in the 50s that every street light had young men singing under the street lights. This was their spotlight. And on any corner you could find the Temptations, the Miracles, the Spinners. This is before they got with Motown and before they got big. But the Spinners were in these talent shows every week at the Duke Theater. And they were in the talent show. They weren't the Spinners yet. They were called the Domingos. So they were in the talent shows at the Duke Theater every week, and they never won. So this one particular week, they decided they weren't going to wait until till the show was over because they never won anyhow. So they were driving home, and they had it on the radio, and the radio said that the winner of the talent show was the Domingos. So the Spinners said, well, we won. We've got to go back and collect our money. So they went back to the Duke Theater and said, we are the Domingos, we won. And the host said, oh no, the Domingos have already been here and collected their money. So that's how unknown the Spinners were then. Another group claimed to be the Domingos and took the prize money. It wasn't big money, but back in those days, whatever money was important. So when they finally got a chance to record, they were told the Domingos, there was a group called the Dominoes. There was a group called the Flamingos. So they told the Spinners, the Domingos is too close to those names, so you have to pick another name. This is in the recording studio just before they recorded. So Bobby Smith of the Spinners, who loved cars, had just bought some Spinner hubcaps. And the Spinner hubcaps are the ones that after the car stops, the hubcaps are still revolving. So Bobby decided, well, let's be this. Bobby's been talking about the Spinners all along, so we'll be the Spinners. So that's how the Spinners got their name. And their hits with Motown, they had Truly Yours, That's What Girls Are Made For. That's What Girls Are Made For is one of my favorites because it says to hold and to squeeze. That's what girls are made for. To scold and to tease. That's what girls are made for. You've got to love them. You've got to, or you will miss them. I don't know all the words, but that what Girls Are Made For was one of their first hits with Motown, and it was a beautiful song. And then Truly Yours. Truly Yours was a letter. They're reading this letter from the girlfriend, and it says, as I read the words written in your letter. The tears began to rise. I could read between the lines that you thought it was better not to use the word goodbye. But one thing I'll never understand is how you had the nerve to take a pen in your hand and sign the letter, truly yours, when you were never truly mine. So that was one of their hits at Motown. Truly Yours, It's a Shame, Too Young, Too Much, Too Soon. That was another one of their hits. Too young, too much, too soon. That's what they say about our romance. Too young to go steady, too soon because we're not ready, too young to try to give our love a chance. That was how Too Young, Too Soon started. They also had another hit at Motown, well, another song at Motown that did not turn out to be a hit, which was We'll Have It Made. We thought, well, we'll have it made, but it turned out that was not a big hit at Motown. But the Spinners left Motown in 1972, and they went to Atlantic. But I am forever grateful to Motown. I am forever indebted to Motown because Motown was a big part of my life and still is. And what Barry accomplished, I don't know if anything like that will ever be accomplished again. One of the other songs that the Spinners had when they were with Motown is, I told you about It's a Shame and Truly Yours and We'll Have It Made. So then when they got to Atlantic, their first song was How Could I Let You Get Away? Now, How Could I Let You Get Away became a big hit. Now, if you've watched my show and you see the start of the show, that's a song by the Spinners called The Ghetto Child. And the people that you see are either members of the Spinners or members of the Purvis Foundation board of directors. And then there's PJ. You see Purvis Jr. in there. And it's also Purvis Jr. on the two pictures behind me, because Purvis Jr. lit a fire under me and Purvis to try to help lower income people. So Ghetto Child, part of the words to Ghetto Child are, when I was 17, I ran away from home and from everything I had ever known. I was sick and tired living in a town filled with narrow minds and hate. They used to laugh at me. The children called me names. I would run and hide, feeling so ashamed just for being born. I was just a boy punished for a crime that was not mine. Now, that had nothing to do with autism, but Ghetto Child, the words to Ghetto Child suit the words of being the parent of a child with autism, because my son was laughed at. People did laugh at people with autism back in those days. My son was born in 1975, Purvis Jackson Jr., the reason for all of my activities. 1975 was the year that they quit putting people with autism in institutions. So the fact that Purvis Jr. was born that year, and then he was diagnosed with autism a year later, but back then no one knew anything about autism. So March of Dimes, Children's Center, all Easter Seals, all the agencies that help children with handicaps did not help people with autism. So I felt like I was really in a really confused place, and it was confusing. But when the Spinners left Motown and went with Atlantic, that's when they started having hits, starting in 1972. The Spinners were the second black group to get a star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood, and that was in 1976. So they were part of the Motown Review. The Motown Review was Motown artists that traveled all over the country giving shows. But back then I was working at the 20 Grand, and after they rehearsed enough and were ready to be presented, Berry Gordy sent them on the road. But before they went on the road, they performed at the 20 Grand. So, which is actually where I met Purvis. But one of the songs that I really loved by the Spinners, this was after they left Motown, it's called I'm Coming Home. Sitting in a railway station, my suitcase in my hand, going back where I came from, I've had more than I can stand. Watching men destroy my dreams, they picked my brain till it was clean. When I was up, they knocked me down, I ain't gonna hang around. I'm coming home. So that's a song of despair, and it was a good seller because a lot of people felt that way. Ellen DeGeneres, you know who Ellen DeGeneres is. She had a show called I'm Coming Home, the pilot of a show, and her show was called I'm Coming Home. It was about someone that had went to the big city and didn't make it and had come back to the little small town. So she used the Spinners song as her theme song, but the show wasn't picked up. But those are the words to I'm Coming Home. I told you some of Ghetto Child. There was another one, All That Glitters. When I was just a little child, I used to like those shiny, pretty things. One day, I found myself a toy. I got it from the bubble gum machine. Then I went home, calling my mother. I said, Mother, look at all the pretty things I got. My mama smiled, said, sit down, my child, 'cause all that glitters is not gold. I'm going to take a short break. Please stick with me for more of A Spoonful of Comfort.
Sitting in a railway station, my suitcase in my hand, going back where I came from, had more than I can stand. Watching them destroy my dreams, pick my brain till it was clean. When I was up, they knocked me down. Hey, I ain't gonna hang around. I'm going home, home, home. Hey, hey, yes I am. More than I can stand. Don't you tell someone to meet me. I'm coming home, home, hey, hey, hey. Tell someone. Why don't you? Yes, sirree. Ooh, let me tell y'all. Came to this old time, seeking fortune and something.
I want to say thank you to our wonderful engineer here, Tim Smith, because he did not know what I was going to say. But before the words I'm coming home left my mouth, he was playing the song. So he really is worth his weight in gold. I don't have that much gold, but he is worth his weight in gold. So some of the writers at Motown, you hear about the songs, but you don't hear about the people that wrote the songs. If you hear about it, you hear about it in passing. So I want to name some of the writers at Motown. There was Ivy Hunter. There was Norman Whitfield. Norman Whitfield was a friend of mine and Purvis's. And Norman Whitfield, when he got his first big check from Motown, he showed me that check because he couldn't believe it. He said he never would have thought that he was going to make that much money. Norman Whitfield was ill in '08 at the same time that Purvis was. They were both somewhat going downhill. We didn't know which one was going first. But Purvis passed away before Norman did. But Norman Whitfield, Holland Dozier, and Holland, that was Eddie Holland, Lamont Dozier, and Brian Holland, that had a lot of the big hits. They wrote a lot of the Temptation Supremes hits. There was Ashford and Simpson, Sylvia Moy, Jamie Bradford, Paul Reiser. These were all writers at Motown. Now, Jamie Bradford is the one that one of the writers on Money. I don't know if you know the words to Money. The best things in life are free, but you can give it to the birds and bees. I want money. That's what I want, by Barrett Strong. That was one of Motown's first big hits in the early 60s. So I think Motown did something that probably can't be accomplished again because times have changed so greatly. And as I said, I am grateful to Motown. Some of the lyrics from Motown were amazing. So I named some of the writers. Smokey Robinson was also one of the top writers at Motown, as well as a singer. Now, one of Smokey's songs that I loved all of his songs, but one that I wanted to mention is Tracks of My Tears. And the words were, people say I'm the life of the party because I tell a joke or two. Although I might be laughing loud and hearty, deep inside I am blue. So take a good look at my face. If you look closely, it's easy to trace the tracks of my tears. They don't write music like that anymore. I loved that music. So I was telling you about Motown, but I want to share with you a couple of my poems that I will be sharing at my book signing, April 26th, March 29th first. March 29th at Northwest Activity Center, which is located on Myers at Curtis, 18100 Myers at Curtis. So I want to share with you the Big 80. Now, I shared it with you before, but I'm very proud of this poem because I didn't know I was going to get here. The Big 80. No more roll with the punches. Now I go with the flow. No more drama, no trauma, because I am the Big 80. No more feuding, no more fighting, no more stressing, no mess. No more between a rock and a hard place, because I sure needed a rest. No more slipping and sliding, no peeping, no hiding. I don't do that no more. No more pretending, no lying, no more midnight crying. I've been through all that before. All the wrong that I wanted to do, I have already done. And there wasn't much wrong that I wanted to do. All the wrong that I wanted to do, I have already done. All of my races, I have already run. I didn't say won, I said run. And the reason I know all of my races have already been run, because I'm not going to be racing anymore. I'm too old to race now. All of my races were already run. Like fine wine, I've mellowed with time, and a new chapter has begun. I still have things that I want to do in the time that I have left, because I am not ready to go. I still have life to celebrate. I am the Big 80. And I am thankful that I have lived to get to this point to talk to you. You know, Joel Osteen, Minister Joel Osteen, says that we should declare God's favor. When God gives us favor, we should declare God's favor. So I am declaring God's favor, that he blessed me to get to this ripe old age and still be somewhat ripe, haven't fallen off the tree yet, but it is possible. It is possible. Another poem that I want to share with you, this poem, The Snake. This is another poem. I have shared it with you before. This is also in my book. The snake. The snake couldn't slither. He couldn't hiss in his pit. He couldn't even hold his head up. He was sick. He was sick. He couldn't stick his tongue out. He couldn't rattle or roll. He couldn't stop shaking. He was cold. He was cold. He thought he was dying, and then an angel appeared and said, I will help you, so dry up your tears. She picked him up gently and took him inside and washed him and fed him and stayed by his side. If it hadn't been for her, he would surely have died. She doctored and nursed him until he was fine. Then she said, let us celebrate. I'll open some wine, and we'll drink a toast to you and to me, a toast to our future, how great it will be. She gave him the glass, and he bit her hand, Through her shock and surprise, she said, I don't understand. I helped you. I saved you. I sacrificed too. There was nothing at all I wouldn't do for you. How could you hurt me? I thought we were friends. And he said, you knew darn well I was a snake when you took me in. So watch out for the snakes. Tune in next week to A Spoonful of Comfort, and may God bless and keep you.
When I was 17, I ran away from home and from everything I had ever known. I was sick and tired